Okay, we're assuming that you have used what you learned in your quick start training to have already used one of these first two menu items here, either the portal or local computer, to have opened up either the swim lane functional flow chart or the value stream mapping template, whichever one you needed to use, to the help worksheet. If you have not done that, it'd be a really good idea to pause this video and go do that now so that you can follow along and not just watch. And then when you're ready, go ahead and resume this video. So the first thing that you're going to do when you're on this help worksheet is just scroll down like you always do into the instructions for how to use this template. You can also just scroll down. And on this one, you're going to find that the instructions for how to use this template section includes a section for defining your cycle time unit of measure. That's because it needs to be defined for the entire workbook. So that's why it's done on the help sheet instead of on each individual worksheet. So you just come in here and choose from the drop-down menu, am I working in seconds, minutes, or hours. If you do change it into seconds, you do need to recalculate manually in order for that to stick. So we're just going to leave ours in minutes. And this exact same thing, if you happen to be working in the functional flow chart, you just either scroll down or click this instructions to use this template, take you right there. And it's the same thing. You say, I want it in seconds, minutes, or hours, and then recalculate if you need to. And of course, if you had chosen to use your template in a different language, then of course you would be choosing your everything would change into your language, and you'd be using your drop-down list would be in your language, and everything would still work, unlike any homegrown template that you could hope to program. So those are the only things that you would actually do on the help worksheet, is set your cycle time unit of measure and perhaps your language. Everything else you're going to do on the sheet where you're going to do all your work. And so you're going to click this button to open a blank template sheet. Notice there's 3 sheets now. You click it. There's a 4th sheet, template 2, and that's where you're going to actually do your work. Of course, you'd rename it your as is or whatnot. So this is where you're going to actually do your work, and let's shrink it down so you can see a little bit better. And then you come on over to the lower right corner of the swim lane functional flow chart, and you see where all these metrics are. So notice you got this one cell here under your demand unit of measure that you need to fill in. It's a double border cell. So you say, well, what is it that our customer is demanding? What is being transformed in this flowchart or value stream? In this case, it could be units of inventory, it could be pallets, it could be patients. Let's say we're a hospital and we're processing, transforming patients. So there you go. So that's the only unit of measure that needs to be defined, unless you have a user-defined one, that needs to be defined on the swim lane functional flow chart. So let's finish our discussion of the functional flow chart before going on to the value stream map. Let's go over to the sample, just because it's easier. Sample worksheet here that has a sample of what a finished document might look like every Systems to Win template does. Makes it a lot easier to understand what's going on. So you come on down here and notice that lead time, we didn't have to define that unit of measure, because we can at any time, unlike cycle time, at any time, we can click this button right here that says change lead time unit of measure and switch between working days, calendar days, weeks, and hours. And notice our lead time right here. If we switch over and say, hey, no, we're in weeks, then it's 2.2 weeks. So if we come over here and say, no, it's hours. We're in the auto industry. Nobody works in days. So you click and change your lead time unit of measure. Now it's 72 hours. So that's pretty much all that you need to know about units of measure for a swim lane functional flow chart. You defined the cycle time unit of measure on the help worksheet. You can switch between the lead time unit of measure at any time using this button, and you define the demand unit of measure here. And you can use everything that you learned about the functional flowchart when you use your value stream mapping template. So you know that you can define your cycle time unit of measure on the help worksheet. You know that you can everything else you will do on the open a blank template sheet. Here's that same lead time unit of measure converter. So you could switch between working days, calendar days, weeks, and hours. You already know that. Here's that same demand unit of measure, same idea. So instead of being patients this time, let's say that we're making go-karts. So notice when I hit enter that everywhere that it had said units, it's now we're looking at go-karts for this entire worksheet within this value stream. So notice that when you first start a value stream map, by default it's really stripped. It doesn't have a lot of calculations showing. In fact, the only value in the units of measure column is the go-karts. So, or excuse me, is the demand unit of measure. So that's the only thing that you'd fill in to get started. There's other values in these pink double border cells in the value column. So you might answer the question, for instance, well, how many go-karts our customers demanding? So let's say that we need 50 go-karts per week, and because we happen to be working 5 days a week, that means that we need 10 go-karts per working day, right? So you can start to play with things in these other pink double border cells and say, well, what if we worked 4 days per week? How many go-karts would we need per day then? So it's really kind of fun. You can play with your values. Now you might have people who say, gosh, that's just too confusing for me. I don't understand all that. And you go, gosh, I don't want to overwhelm my people with more than they're ready for. So it's Excel. You can just hide things that they're not ready for, and then it's real easy to hide things and strip it down to only those few things that you're really trying to focus your people's attention on at this moment. But you can also go the other way and unhide. Use your hide and show rows button to unhide. Now let's get out of the as is sheet that we created. Go to the sample so we can see some sample data. And let's use that hide and show rows button right here to show all rows. And click OK. And instead of just being the few rows that were there, notice that there's a whole nother tier for pre-production above all your the critical path. And in the critical path, you've got other things be in this unit of measure column beyond just units. So you might say, hey, we don't call our workers workers. So any of these pink double border cells you can change and say we call our workers folks. So now anywhere that it had said workers, it now says folks. So you've got the maybe you scroll down a little bit and say feet. Gee, we're in Europe. We don't use feet, we use meters. Great, everything's in meters now. Change that pink double border cell. It's not miles, it's kilometers. So you can change it's not US dollars, it's euros, whatever. So you can change it as easy as that, changing the pink cells in the critical path tier. Now if you do want to change the currency, of course, you wouldn't want to just change the word to euros because all the symbols would be wrong, right? So you come up here and there is a special feature in your Systems Win template to change the currency. So you just use this drop-down list and say whatever currency that you want. By the way, we'd want to zoom in so we can see something there. But you choose the currency that you want, whatever it might be, and then you choose that, and then you click this currency button right above it. Scroll over so you can see something. Click the currency button, and now it changed all the cells everywhere in the entire workbook that use currency are now going to be in pounds. So instead of dollars. So rather than and then you here in this cell, because a lot of currencies use the same symbol, you can put what it is that you want, and mine's going to be sterling pounds or whatever. So that's how currency gets changed. Now, if you really are in the medical industry working with patients, then I'm at a loss for even coming up with an example of how the next feature would be of interest to you. So you're done watching this video. You know what you need to know now about units of measure. If, however, you are in an industry where you really are working with go-karts, then, or any other kind of a sub-assembly that feeds a downstream operation, then this next feature is really important to you. So let's say that you are making those go-karts, that is your demand unit of measure. And you need 50 of them per week, you need 10 of them per day. So you're saying, okay, great. For the guys who are making chassis and the guys who are doing assembly, that all makes sense because they're saying, how many go-karts do I need to make? But what about these guys over here in wheels? They're saying, how many go-karts worth of wheels do I need to make this week? That's just not how they're thinking. So it's 40 minutes to make a go-kart's worth of wheels. That's not how they're thinking. So if you unhide this extra row called process unit of measure, if you leave it blank, it's going to be go-karts. If you put something in here, however, and you go, I need 4 for what? Right next to it, you say 4 wheels. So it's going to be, if I need 50 go-karts, I need 200 wheels, and it's not 40 minutes per go-kart's worth of wheels. It was actually 10 minutes per wheel. So, now that starts making sense. Everything in this entire column makes sense to the people who are, how many wheels am I making? But when it comes down here to this bottom line again, it had better be back into go-karts, or otherwise all of your math is going to be wrong. So let's say that you're making the dually model and you need 6 wheels per go-kart, and then your andons turn on in bold red and say, hey, you're not going to meet takt time, you got a problem there, you better deal with it. So you have to change something so that you can make dualies. So it can handle, if you have sub-assemblies and you've got value stream mapping software that can't handle it, you have to be thinking in a go-kart's worth of wheels. And if you own your Systems to Win template, you can do the math correctly.